Tony Stark convinced Spider-Man to reveal his identity in solidarity with the Superhero Registration Act. However, upon regretting the decision, he made himself an enemy of the state, going into hiding with his family, but it was too late. Aunt May has been shot and is dying in Peter's arms as he sees the gunfire leading to the building across the street. Running out of the motel, the shooter looks in fear as he sees down the sight of his gun, a Jeep flying at him. With the shooter stopped, Peter runs back into the building. Mary Jane begins calling 911, but there's no time. Peter shatters through the window, holding Aunt May, flying through the city, refusing to let her die. A crash is heard from in the hospital as staff respond accordingly. There, Aunt May lies, quickly bleeding out. She's already lost too much blood. We transition to a maximum security prison, where we find Wilson Fisk receiving a message from a guard, letting him know that Aunt May has been put out of commission. In Times Square, Mary Jane meets Peter in a dark alley, letting her know that May is alive, but she's not doing good. She's at the best hospital in the city, but they're running out of money. Peter vowing to find more somehow. Mary Jane has her tasks, and Peter has his. He's going to hurt someone. Peter enters the building, where the shooter had May in his sights, taking care of the security along the way. He stands in the room, scanning when his spider sense activates, revealing a clue, a rifle scope with a name stamped into the steel. He has a lead. He can't help May now. He can't show his face, not when it's in every newspaper in the country, but there is something he can do. He arrives at a warehouse, where gun runners are looking through their product. There, breaking through the wall, Peter, not Spider-Man, stares down the men. They never stood a chance. They fire, but no bullets make contact. They try to escape, but there is no escape. No jokes, no punches pulled. No one gets away. No one threatens his family. No one. The last man stands. Peter doesn't care about his pain. He doesn't care about his pleas. He just wants his next lead, and he's not taking no for an answer. The man reveals that the scope is a rare item, only sold by a few dealers in the States. But he tells Peter they'll kill him if he says any more, but that's nothing compared to what Peter will do. Back at the hospital, the surgeon tells Mary Jane that they've done everything they could, but she's in a coma, and the machines are the only things keeping her going. Sooner or later, she's going to die. In the storm, a shadow flies through the darkness. Peter left something here, something that sent the wrong message, something that represents the rules don't apply anymore, that the gloves are off, that he won't stop. He can't be stopped. He will find them, and he will kill them. Peter is preparing for his assault on those that hurt his family before Mary Jane lets him know May's condition. There's nothing he can do. No one can even go in the room. There's nothing to do but cry. But he has to do something. Otherwise, he won't be able to live with himself. Back to work. Every criminal in his way becomes a talker. Peter doesn't have time for games. He throws a man out of his penthouse window. He is sent soaring to the cold pavement below. The street gets ever closer. Suddenly, it all stops, mere feet from the ground by a single web, dangling him above the bustling city. It's time for round 2, and he squeals, "They always do. He has a name, and he will find them." Peter finds 2 NYPD officers in an alley hassling a drunk homeless man. He webs the alley, blocking them from their patrol vehicle, using their database to find the lead. Bingo. Spider-Man is in the lead's apartment when he's approached by the landlord, who's a fan. He lets Peter know that the man said something about going to the train station as he ran out of the building. As Peter swings from the building, the landlord yells to him that 2 others came by looking for the man. Peter arrives at the train station, scanning for the man. He closes his eyes, concentrating his spider sense to find who he's looking for. Got him. The man sees him at the same time. Chase ensues, but Peter wants him to run. He wants him to know what it feels like to be hunted, cornered. The man fires. It doesn't matter. He's a dead man walking. Peter snaps his hand, telling the man he still has one good arm, so pick up the gun. It's not so easy when the other side fights back. The mask is off. This is not Spider-Man. This is Peter Parker, and this man hurt his family. He showed his family no mercy, so neither will Peter. He's going to kill the man, but only after he tells Peter who hired him. Shots ring out, striking the man as Peter leaps out of the way. Peter sees the shooter, throwing a tracker onto their shoe. Peter needs to stay with May's shooter in case he wakes up. The universe's irony is not lost on Peter, as May's shooter is wheeled into the same hospital as May. Mary Jane meets Peter in the hospital, tearfully letting him know that the doctors have told her May won't survive her wounds. So Peter slows down, just for a moment, watching May as her shooter's heartbeat flatlines. Peter can't stay. He hasn't found the man attached to his spider tracer yet, but the man is sloppy. He didn't find the tracer. He simply stands on the curb, letting the caller know on the other line that it was taken care of, or so he thought. Peter webs the man's mouth and takes the phone, listening to the man speak. With only a few words spoken, he knows who this is, Wilson Fisk. And Fisk knows Peter. Peter rips the webbing off of the man's face, demanding that he tell him all he knows, and he'll know if he lies. The kingpin asks the guard to do something for him. As he snaps his table in half, money rolls falling down from inside. The guard watches in shock as more and more is revealed as the items in the cell all fall apart, revealing an enormous bedsheet filled to the brim with money rolls. A king's ransom, as it was. It's the guard's cash if he can do Wilson a favor. The man hangs upside down, wide-eyed and terrified, begging for it all to stop. The man is being asked if he understands the food chain, that it is simply predator and prey, and that prey can be anything that is defenseless, like the webbed man and the hungry rats in the sewer, or a defenseless old woman and a high-powered rifle. As the rats scurry along the man, Peter cuts him down, demanding him to tell all his friends, everyone he works with, that if anyone touches his family, they move to the bottom of the food chain, where the predators aren't the rats, they aren't the guns. He is. Back at the hospital, Peter and MJ worry over May. She hasn't gotten better. They're running out of cash, and it's only a matter of time until people find out where she is. He remembers once that he gave May a blood transfusion with his own blood. It wasn't without side effects, but it did save her. Maybe it can again. After the procedure, weak and tired, Peter has to go. He has unfinished business, and despite MJ's pleas, he leaps from the window, heading to where this all ends. A prisoner hears the sound of his door opening, all of the doors opening, as the kingpin receives his things, and Peter watches the prison from a distance. The spider in black flies swiftly in the air, sneaking into the prison, evading guards as he does so, making his way to the man that set this all in motion. The hulking man in a pristine white suit walks past the prisoners, the clean white in opposition to the dirty gray prison walls surrounding him. A crash is heard from above. Spider-Man swings down, the two men in opposition, facing each other. This is the end of the road. The kingpin hulks over Spider-Man, the screaming of the prisoners making a mock gladiatorial arena. Spider-Man remains silent. This isn't a game. Fisk begins to monologue that no matter the breed of men that surround them, no matter how heinous their crime, no one is worse than the chump. A chump, like a man who would trust the government, who would trust the man in the iron mask and reveal his face to the world. The face of a chump. And you can't make an omelet without breaking a few old ladies. But this is a different Spider-Man. There is no talking, no mercy, just punishment to the man that hurt his family. Even with his face bleeding and bruised, Kingpin still chooses to mock Peter, speaking of the women in Peter's life that were victimized, that after everything, Peter might as well make a joke, because what's left except humor? A flurry of fists hit Fisk in every direction before he can properly react to any of them. The king bleeds, standing beneath the chump. Fisk simply responds with mockery, stating that Peter said he was going to kill him, so do it. Peter's silence unsettling the powerful man. All right. Peter begins saying that the suit represents everything he would and would never do, every line he wouldn't cross, because doing so would destroy everything the suit stood for. Therefore, Spider-Man isn't there to kill him. Peter Parker is. Peter runs at the giant man without hesitation, the crowd roaring as Fisk's teeth fly from his mouth. Peter hears nothing. No jokes, no crowd, no acrobatics. All that runs through his mind over and over is that this is the man responsible for the bullet that harmed one of the only two people he loves more than life itself. Except this isn't a man anymore. This is a target. The hulking man is thrown down the prison hall. As Peter stands over the kingpin, he tells him that Fisk forgot something. For all the money, cruelty, and big talk, he has no real power. He's just a fat man in a suit, a balloon waiting for a needle. And Peter's the needle. Fisk leaps across the room at a calm Peter, who quickly outmaneuvers him, landing a devastating uppercut. The powerful man lays powerless in a pool of his own blood, promising to kill Peter. Peter demands that Fisk gets up, but he can't, so Peter does it for him. No closed fists, just an open palm, displaying to all of the prisoners how worthless and how weak this man truly is, that no matter if Peter uses even a fraction of his power, Fisk truly means nothing to him, that he never stood a chance. He holds the man there, bleeding, bruised, and helpless. Peter is in charge now. Peter holds his wrist up to Fisk's teeth, describing how he'll kill him, shooting a stream of webbing into his throat. It'll fill his esophagus, then his lungs, the only way to save him being for surgeons to cut his lungs open, but he'll be long dead before then. A solid chunk of useless tissue and webbing. It'll only take 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. A pause, the anxiety, palpable. Before Fisk is thrown to the wall, with Peter walking to him, stating that he said he was going to kill him, and he will, but it won't be today, because he wants Fisk to live knowing that he's done something worse than kill him. He's beat him, and every man in the room saw it happen, and they'll tell all their friends that the great Wilson Fisk was beaten within an inch of his life. He'll have to live with the knowledge that, eventually, the entire country will have heard of his humiliation, his own personal hell. Peter has always avoided killing for his own principles and his family's sake, but with his aunt gone, that leaves only his principles, and he can make an exception. As Peter stands over Fisk, he tells him the moment his aunt dies, he's coming back to finish him, and he swears on his aunt's soul he'll be dead. Meanwhile, he can live in the humiliation and the message sent today that if anyone touches his family, they will experience the same as Fisk did and die slowly and painfully. As Peter leaves, he tells Fisk that since he ordered her death, it is only appropriate that his life ends when hers does, so he better pray she survives. The prisoners look in disappointment at the man once held in such fear and high regard, the man that was once like a god, cowering on the ground, stumbling back to his cell. 1, 2, 3.